my husband and I, and listening to a lot of books. And I just felt there wasn't one source that just kind of taught everything. A lot of the mentorships that I was looking into were tens of thousands of dollars. And when you're trying to decide between that and buying your first property, I couldn't justify it at the time. So I always had it in the back of my mind that if I made it and if I was going to be successful, I wanted to teach others. I feel like there's a quote in the Bible, not to get religious, but to whom much has been given, much is expected. And I've learned a lot. I've been very successful through a lot of hard work, but I want to give knowledge back to people too.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul MD podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. Today's guest is an emergency medicine physician, regional ER director, real estate investor, syndicator, and coach, mentor for other professionals to grow their wealth through real estate. And we're going to learn a little bit about her journey along the way. The first acquisitions, her first two properties for $2,500 each. Yes, $2,500 each. And everything that came along with that. Purchased sight unseen. There was back taxes, squatters, and then the contractor is going to take her money and run. So all the way from there, how did she progress to where she's at now with 500 plus units, building a wonderful network of like-minded investors and just getting better each and every day? Still practicing medicine, still practicing real estate. Let's get into this. Everybody, please welcome Dr. Lindsay Duguet to the show. Lindsay, welcome to the show. I always love asking this question first. How does it feel to be Lindsay today?
Feels good. 21-year-old Lindsay would have thought, who is this person? And they wouldn't believe I'm at where I'm at now. So
yeah. Why do you say that? What's the difference?
Complete different mind shift. I mean, when I was 21, I was in college, did want to be a physician at that point, but I was out partying more than anything. Some of the people that we're networking with and mentoring now, my younger brother, it's like, man, if I had started real estate at 21 instead of doing what I was doing at that point, I'd be even more ahead of than I'm at right now.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's just, I guess, jump in. Tell the listeners just a little bit about your medical background, your history, where you started and where you're at currently.
Yeah, so I'm from northeastern Pennsylvania. I live in Wilkes-Barre with my husband and our three kids. We have a 7-year-old, 5-year-old, and a 2-year-old. I met my husband when I was in medical school in Philadelphia. I had gone to Penn State for my undergrad before that. I knew for a long time that I wanted to be a physician. I took my first medical type job when I was in high school. My mom was actually a unit desk clerk at a local nursing home, and I just wanted to make money. So I kind of ended up there. And initially I wanted to be a vet. I grew up on a horse farm. And I was like, oh, people can talk. This sounds like okay. I'm going to be a people doctor. Mm-hmm. So went to PCOM in Philadelphia, met my husband, ended up matching into emergency medicine with Geisinger in the middle of Pennsylvania. My husband's from France. He moved here almost 14 years ago. So I joke he went from Paris to Philadelphia to central Pennsylvania, like cow country. But he's stuck with me now with our 3 kids here in Pennsylvania. So when I was in residency for emergency medicine and we were ending near the end of my residency, my husband read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which gateway book for a lot of people. And, I'm starting to get that close to that attending salary. And a lot of doctors don't invest in real estate. They don't know a lot. So all I heard about was, get a financial advisor. Financial advisors would come to our residency, take us out to dinner and say, hey, let me be your financial advisor, stocks, let me help you. Nobody ever talked about real estate. So I wasn't exposed to it growing up. My parents weren't real estate investors or anything. So the book really changed our mindset about getting passive income streams. So when I graduated from residency, I became an attending also with Geisinger system, and we started our investing journey just 5 years ago now after reading that book.
The Little Purple Book, I've heard it
called. That's right.
So often. You said something there that intrigues me, and I've heard this before. I'm not a physician. I'm from outside the medical world. My background is construction, engineering, real estate, fix and flip, that kind of stuff. So I pick up on a few things that I hear, and maybe it's because I'm from the outside, air quotations for the listeners. But this thing about the financial advisors coming to residency and tell me a little bit more about that. What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, obviously, financial advisors, whether they're doing anything with your portfolio or if they just put it into the S&P 500, don't change anything for 10 years, they're getting generally 0.5 to 1.5% of whatever your investment is for them. So they obviously have an ulterior motive for wanting to have more capital into the investment accounts with them. And it's just, there's the quote in medicine and life in general, you don't know what you don't know. So
Mhm.
everybody around me in residency was exposed to just stocks. I thought, okay, that's what you're going to do. I never actually went through with hiring a financial investment advisor, and I'm not anti-stock. I have 401k, I max out my 403, my 457 at work. I have 529s for my kids just for diversification. But what's truly making me money is real estate investing.
Yeah. And you said the financial advisors would come to you in residency. What does that
Yep.
mean?
So my residency class, there were 9 of us, 3 years, 27 of us total with each residency class. And they would basically say, hey, if anybody's interested, we'll take you out to dinner for the night. And basically you got a free meal. And then they would sales pitch you on why they should be your financial advisor.
Nice. So they would see you in the office then, or in the hospital?
No, they would take us out to like a local restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yes, because I've heard that before, and I just don't know where that connection. Like, are they going to the office that your residence or the hospital where your residency is, and then like pitching you in the lunchroom, or
Yeah, no, I don't know. It came from actually my residency director. They're like, hey, this guy, says if you want to go out to eat with him, sure. So a lot of us would go out, and we're kind of poor residents. So we're like, yeah, free meal.
interesting, interesting. And then, so on to residency and attending emergency medicine. And when did the bug happen? Like the little purple book.
Hmm.
And then when did the bug happen for you? I mean, did your husband sell that to you after reading that book then?
Yeah, it wasn't a hard sell for me at all, but he had listened to it. I'll say that he doesn't like to read books. He does all the audiobooks. And he's like, hey, this just sounds great. Also, he wasn't exposed to real estate either. I mentioned he's from France. His background with his family is the restaurant industry. His parents own restaurants, had hotels in France. He was a mechanical engineer by background. So again, really wasn't exposed to this passive income streams and the potential of real estate. So it made sense. And literally we read the book, finished listening to it, and that same weekend I found a local 3-day seminar in northeastern Pennsylvania all about real estate investing, and we signed up for that and went to it. And we had said to ourselves 2019 was going to be a year of just learning, but I time can be the enemy if you're not using it properly. It's going to pass whether you're doing something or not. So we just decided to jump right in. We started going to local meetups, got our first properties off market, and it's just been a complete snowball from 0 units to now we have just over 550 in those 5 years.
Nice. What was the first deal?
The first deal was a terrible deal. We had found a local investor at a local meetup, and the properties were about an hour away from where our primary house is. And he said, I don't want these anymore. It's just not what I want in my portfolio. I'll literally said I'll sell them to the highest bidder in the room, essentially. And they were 2 single family, obviously off market because he was just advertising it to the people that were in the room. And we bought each of them for $2,500 each, literally $2,500 per house. So $5,000 total, sight unseen. We got there were squatters, the pipes were cut. He didn't tell us any of this. There were back taxes, kind of a disaster. We paid a contractor up front without a contract because we didn't know what we were doing, stole our money. Guy still has a warrant out for his arrest, but we were either too stubborn or stupid to quit. We just kept going and got through it. We ended up doing complete burrs on both of those properties, refied 100% of our money out. We owned them up until last year. They actually cash flowed a couple $100 each every single month. So they ended up being good practice properties, but they were D-class neighborhoods, not where we're buying now. So we learned a lot. It was a lot of hands-on trial by mistakes at that point.
Yeah. I've also heard those first ones called tuition.
Yeah, well, yeah, basically, yeah, that's essentially. I mean, luckily we did not lose money, and we didn't have to pay ourselves back long. But
yeah,
there were some sleepless nights over some of the properties.
So 2 single families first. Then what's the progression for you? Then obviously with scaling up, you've gotten into different asset classes, multifamilies.
Yeah.
What was that progression for you?
So the first 22 units, it was just ourselves, just my husband and I were doing everything. We got the 2 single family, we got a duplex in that same town, did the same thing. We did a burr on that property. Started more self-education, reading books, going to more open free networking events locally, started doing direct mail campaigns. So I would use Prop Finder online, literally look up houses that were owned for 20 plus years, mom and pop, so in their own name, not LLCs, really not running it as a business. 80 to 100% equity. So really no mortgage. I mean, truly the mom and pop owners. And I would just start writing letters and sending them out saying, hey, do you want to sell your property? And we got a 4-unit off market that way. Also a very, very heavy lift, complete gut job rehab. And our best deal was a 10-unit that we got off market. With that, we ended up pulling out 275% of our money on the refi, literally got a $301,000 tax-free refi check after 20 months on that property. It was awesome. And again, still own it, still cash flowing. And we picked up a couple single family units that way too. After we did that and everything was stabilized, we were scaling, we were doing well, but we were doing everything ourselves. I was picking up extra moonlighting shifts at the hospital. By now we had our second kid. There was a lot going on, and we were thinking, how do we leverage our time, our knowledge, and our money, which is limited, finite with other people. So we started to look for and join other actual paid masterminds and mentorship groups. And that's really when we started to scale and take off.
And what was the first group that you joined? Do you remember?
I'm still part of it. It's called MIH, Make It Happen Mastermind.
Interesting.
Yeah.
MIH. And this shift inflection point for you in these other masterminds, what were some of the other groups that you've joined?
So some of them are just free, some physician only syndication groups, really just helping each other, motivate each other, holding accountability is a big thing. I'd like to have my monthly group calls where I know they're going to say, hey, did you call this broker that you said you were going to? And, as a type A doctor, I want to make sure I'm meeting the check boxes and everything.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And where does that leave you now, Lindsay? What's it look like now?
Yeah, so since we joined the mastermind a couple of years ago, we started to do joint venture deals, so small active partnerships with a limited number of people. We closed on an 8-unit in Indianapolis, 23-unit hotel bar, which was a big heavy lift, which is stabilized and doing well now. We're closing on an 8-unit here locally, which I decided to just do another direct mail campaign last year. We should have closed 2 weeks ago, but banks hold everything up with the appraisal. So any day we should be closing on that. We started doing some syndication deals where my husband has real estate professional status now. So he does this full time. He's not a mechanical engineer. He does our whole portfolio and everything. So he is more the asset management, tenant management, and I'm more the front end. I like to do capital raising. I like to do webinars, podcasts. When we started the syndications, we did 110 unit in South Carolina, 212 unit in Kansas City, 40 unit and a 72 unit in Springfield, Missouri. And I'm working on a very large industrial capital raise right now, pretty locally in Pennsylvania. And we did one other smaller industrial 23 unit about a year ago.
And that's Clover Key Capital, right?
That's Clover. Yep, that's that. This was my husband's Christmas present 2 years ago. This sign behind me at cloverkeycapital.com.
Cloverkeycapital.com. So if the listeners are interested in learning more about you or, even potential opportunities, right? Is that where they would go?
Yep, exactly. Yep, cloverkeycapital.com. I have a lot of my prior podcasts on there. Did one in Bigger Pockets a couple months ago. That was really fun. I love to network with people and just teach and learn from other people as well.
And speaking of learning from other people, what was your biggest mistake?
Biggest mistake? I don't know, biggest mistake. Well, probably the biggest mistake was just paying the contractor up front and not having a contract. I mean, in hindsight, yes, it wasn't like a significant amount of money I lost, but not starting to partner with and learn from other mentors sooner, trying to do everything ourselves from the beginning. Again, it ended up being okay, but it could have went smoother and faster had we had partners and mentors in our circle from the beginning.
Interesting. And I guess a learning moment too, my mind is going to the direct mail piece. Are you then fielding the calls when you put out,
Yes,
the direct
yeah,
to seller
yeah.
piece?
And I've been doing all that myself. To me, it's actually fun. I have my kids involved too. The last direct mail campaign that we did, I had my 7-year-old, at that time he was 6, put all the stamps on the envelopes. Like, I talk him through the process. They are being indoctrinated very well to understand investing and hard work and everything. I'm trying very, very hard to be cognizant about that. So yeah, I mail them out, and then it's fun waiting for the phone calls. Some of them are not pleasant, like, how the heck did you get my address and
Mhm.
phone number, and don't call me, hang up. But a lot of people are receptive to it, and obviously it's a small percent of the people that reach out that end up going to close, but it's fun. I like the negotiation process, and it's helping the seller too, which is a big thing. I mean, they're getting, maybe toward the end of the career, or something's happened, they just don't want their property anymore. So I always am trying to look for the win-win situation, and you really want to find the seller's pain point. Why do they want to sell? What can I help them with? And it's not always about money. Sometimes they don't understand seller finance. They don't want to pay all the taxes up front. You can say, okay, well, if you do a portion seller finance, you can spread out your taxes and your capital gains. So it's almost like a cocktail. There's so many different ways you can mix it. It's fun.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What phone systems do you use? Did you use like a Google phone number, or do you have a
Yeah,
different platform that you
we
use?
have open phone, so I just have one cell phone, but the open phone has another number that people contact through it.
Okay, okay. And on your campaigns, obviously it's different throughout the years, but what would you say would your average spend be on a direct mail marketing campaign?
So the Prop Finder online software might have gone up in the last year. We just have automatic payment, but I think it's about $50 a month. And then it's basically the cost of stamps. We're not paying for lists or anything. There's a set number that's included in the Prop Finder. So it's trading my time, right? I could
And
hire a VA
handwriting,
to help,
yeah,
but yeah, exactly. It's really more the time and just the stamps and envelopes. So I
right.
wouldn't say it's a huge cost, but as my kids get a little older, they'll be helping more with that.
Yeah. And you're targeting commercial then, multifamily, so 5+ units?
Yeah, well, we've done both. We got the 4 unit when we were doing the small multifamily, which obviously that is still residential, 1 to 4 units. But at this point now, yes, we're only contacting 5+ units. Yeah.
5+. And the bigger deals, like the deal in South Carolina being so far away from that, how did you come across the deal like that?
That was through one of our other partners, the boots on the ground. They found it, they did the negotiations and everything, and it's now what we call vertically integrated. So we have our own property management company that 2 of the partners have formed themselves, and they have our own property management over multiple properties. Same with Kansas City. Actually, I mentioned the mentorship MIH. They have Sharpline, and Sharpline across multiple states has their own specific property management company. We have seen throughout many deals that your own property management company will 100% perform better than a third-party property management company.
Mhm. I've also had discussions with people who will offer equity in the property management piece, given the property. I mean, it has to make sense, but that just gives the award or the
Yeah.
reward for the property manager to maintain the asset properly.
Yeah, it's definitely one way if you feel very comfortable with the third party property management and have a good pre-existing relationship with them. But yeah, we like our in-house property management
Yep.
companies.
Yep. Where at in South Carolina was that at?
Greensboro. So
Greensboro.
it's really more of a working class area, but there's minimal housing. That particular one was actually a LIHTC, a low income housing tax credit. That part was phasing out. So when it's in that government bucket, you can't raise the rents at all. So that was the opportunity on this one. It was a value add that as this phased out, we can actually raise them to market rents, and they're renting out very well.
What's been the I guess best way to locate deals or opportunities when it comes to the larger units, 10, 20, 30 plus?
Word of mouth. We've only gotten one that's been on market that way. Everything else has been through really good broker relationships and through our partners having very good broker relationships before they hit the market. Or even just as your reputation grows in certain areas, like in the Kansas City, Springfield, Missouri area, the very last one too. It's just, again, been word of mouth that the people in that community know, okay, Sharpline, and they are serious buyers that can close too.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Serious buyers that can close is a big thing.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing that I want to talk about just briefly is this journey that you've been on. Definitely learning so much from others, and I think our journey in real estate is not anything that we're creating. We may see a few opportunities and see a few trends a little differently than everybody else, but ultimately we're picking these things up from each other.
Yep.
And you have this new platform called Mind Shift to Millions.
Yes.
And the listeners can find that at mindshift to the number 2millions.com. What is that about?
Yeah. So this has been an idea that from the beginning, even before I started or I bought my first property, we were reading, my husband and I, and listening to a lot of books. And I just felt there wasn't one source that just kind of taught everything. A lot of the mentorships that I was looking into were tens of thousands of dollars. And when you're trying to decide between that and buying your first property, I couldn't justify it at the time. So I always had it in the back of my mind that if I made it and if I was going to be successful, I wanted to teach others. I feel like there's a quote in the Bible, not to get religious, but to whom much has been given, much is expected. And I've learned a lot. I've been very successful through a lot of hard work, but I want to give knowledge back to people too. So a couple months ago, I started to decide, okay, this is the time I want to get more serious about this. And one of my business partners, Lauren Zeminski, and I reached out to her and we started brainstorming and we said, okay, yeah, we're both on the same page. Let's write books together first. So we just published last month, 2 different books, which I have here. It's called Real Estate Investing Unlocked, Real Stories from Women on Their Path to Passive Income and Financial Freedom, and a male version. It's 16 stories from women, 16 stories from men. We've had a lot of really good feedback about that. And as we were getting these books out, we started to work on our coaching and mentorship program that we're going to be launching in March. And it's really a very close-knit group. We want it not to be, dozens or hundreds of people, really keep it to very, very small, close group sizes and have bi-weekly meetings with the people, accountability, and really just be there personally to help them start to finish, whether they want to do direct mail campaigns, syndications, and help them through the process.
So gaining knowledge, reading books, and I see this a lot too, where we're not necessarily analysis paralysis, but just afraid to take action, whether it's am I making the right direction? Am I the right asset class? Am I around the right people?
Yeah.
What is your suggestion for just making it happen? Take action.
Yeah, no, you definitely need to take action. I mean, analysis paralysis is a very real thing. I see it with people I talk to all the time, whether it's just them trying to buy a car or make a decision on investing in real estate or something. Not everything is comparing apples to apples. There will always be new deals. There will always be different and better deals. And even for us at the beginning, you don't have enough money to invest in everything, right? So people get very scared and saying, well, what if I put my money in this investment? It doesn't do well. Maybe I'll just hold on to it and wait for the next one. Not thinking about the value of compounding. I mean, there's the saying, if you wait a year, you're going to regret not starting today, because a year from now, you're going to have cash flow from whatever you invested in. You're that much closer to a refi or an exit and, hopefully doubling your money with the equity multiplier. But you just need to start now. I mean, people say it for the stock market too, right? I mentioned I still have stock market accounts. It's that dollar cost averaging. Put money in consistently over time. If you do one deal a year in 10 years, you're going to have 10 deals. So start now is the biggest piece of advice I can give people.
Start now, take action. And
Yes.
for the listeners out there, maybe in residency, where should they start now?
Yeah. So if they want to reach out to me, I actually, for Kansas City Medical School, a couple of weeks ago, I did a lecture just on that, specifically for residents, and not just about real estate investing, but how to try to set yourself up for a good financial future, even as a resident, and, having your emergency fund. There's other pieces of financial advice besides just do real estate, which I think everybody should. But if anybody wants to reach out for that lecture, I can send it to them too. And that's really specifically for college medical students, people that don't have that disposable income yet.
Okay. And then in disposable income land, where would be a good place to start?
Well, I always tell people, do you want to be active or do you want to be passive? That's number one. Besides the real estate investing, I said I have 3 kids. I'm also the regional director for my hospital system, and I'm in charge of several ERs. So I wear a lot of hats. It's a lot of balancing act, and some days require more attention to different buckets than others. But if it wasn't for my husband, I could not be 100% active all the time. Every deal we do and raise for, we put our own money into it too. So we have the passive side as well as the very, very active side. So if you don't have time, if you don't want to give yourself that financial education and how do I send out a direct mail? How do I fix a broken pipe or find a contractor? Passive investing is probably for you. That's where you go into the passive syndications. Some people want to get their feet wet and learn about it, but be a little bit less active. You can do joint venture deals, and to find good deals that way, it's through a lot of networking and relationships, which still take work. Or, you could be crazy like my husband and I and just go for it and get completely active with it and not have partners from the beginning. But you should at least have a mentor, even if you want to be completely active.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could go back 10, I don't know if that's even long enough yet, maybe even 15 years back, and set beside somebody maybe on that same path, figuring out, what type of medicine they were looking at, or is it medicine they're looking at? What's something that you would tell that person?
I would say pay yourself first. I mean, there's a lot of books that talk about that, but you shouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck. And God bless, I have a lot of friends that still do that. They, get a tax refund and they immediately spend it. You really should be paying yourself first. And what that means is put money towards savings, and not just savings, but how is that money going to work from you? There's Robert Kiyosaki has the cash flow quadrant where you're on the left side, you're the employee, where you're trading your time for money. You're the business owner, where you're still trading your time for your business. And, if something happens to you, your business is going to shut down. You really want to get to the right side where you're a business owner and your systems make you money in your business, or you're an investor where your money makes you money. So it really is wrapping your mind around that and the mind shift to that, which is very hard and it's not taught in traditional education. So yeah.
Mind shift to millions. Get your hind end on the right side of the quadrant.
There you go. Exactly. That's why my partner and I, again, it's so much your mindset, which is why we chose that name, mindshift2millions.com.
Yeah. And that way too, to me, paying yourself first and above the line is really important. And then when you have these different entities, it allows you to do certain things, pay yourself in certain ways, cover expenses certain ways. Now, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA or anything like that. Just from my own experiences, that's what we've seen. There are also interesting ways that you can pay your children as well too. Yeah. So as they're, putting the stamps on the direct mail, we always loved having the kids draw on the envelopes. That was always a guaranteed open. Have the kids draw with crayons on the envelopes. Was wonderful. Well, thank you for your time, Lindsay. It's been absolutely amazing. There's so much experience, and man, it's just awesome now that you're sharing this via Clover Key Capital and Mindshift to Millions. Both those .coms are there so they can find you and connect with you, and man, join the group, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we do free webinars too. My business partner and I are doing one tonight. So it's, you don't always have to pay for education. There's so much free resources out there and people that are willing to give their time back to other people too. Absolutely. And free networking events. So get out there, make it happen.
Yeah, make it happen. MIH.
Here you go.
The start of it. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again, Lindsay. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
The listeners out there today, thank you again. Hopefully you've got some nuggets here from this experience-filled journey here with Lindsay and Clover Key Capital. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email, info@physicianwealthsystems.com. And until next time, just thank you for your attention today. This is the Real Estate Mogul MD.
Thank you.